She doesn't, you're just gonna start.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Good evening,
Lord,
everyone.
so you know, we can't see you guys, but we can hear you.
I'd like to call the July 10th, 2023 meeting of the Town of Niska Unit Planning Board and Zoning Commission to order. Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Here.
Mr. Screbutenis,
Here.
Mr. Khan,
Here.
Mr. McPartlin, I believe, is excused and absent. Mr. Darpino,
Here.
Ms. Gold,
Present.
Ms. Strang,
Here.
Mr. Drescher,
Here.
Chairman Walsh.
Here. Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have two sets of minutes to approve. The first set being the May 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. I'd like to ask the board if I'd like to make a motion that we table those minutes. Talk to the planning department. I'd just like to have a little bit of meat added to the section where we voted on the Mohawk Country Club recommendation. I had some comments to justify my vote. And so I'd just like to have some of that included. And I know Mr. Khan also had some comments that weren't included. So I'd like to make a motion that we table the May 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Screbutenis. All those in favor of tabling those meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the planning department working on that again. We have second set of minutes are June 12th, 2023. That were included in the packet. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion.
Motion approved by Mr. Khan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. DiRapino. Any concerns, changes, comments? I have none. No? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the June 12th, 2023 meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, those meeting minutes are up. Any opposed? Nope. Okay, those meeting minutes are also approved. Thank you. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right to privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles Horowitz. I live at 1223 Ruffner Road, and Mohawk Club is not on the agenda for tonight, but the approval of the minutes is, and even though it's not on the agenda, I still have some comments that I would like to make about it. I did review the information that came out, the planning board minutes. I had hoped to have a better sense when you all spoke about why you voted as you did, because I just saw that the actual tally of the votes was listed without the reasons. And I liked hearing the reasons. It was a little bit difficult to kind of follow everything that everybody said. But so I did go back and review the rest of the planning board minutes, and there were a couple of trends that concern me, including some of the comments that I remember in terms of the justification. Now, of course, you know, as I've spoken before, that I'm 1,000% against this project. And so I paid particular attention to the votes that seem to be in support of the project and what the reasons were, what the rationale was, what the basis of it was. And as I went through it, my concern is I'm not quite seeing the relationship between the data that is provided to you and how the vote is made. For example, when I went through the planning board minutes, and just in the lines, 260 to 270 or so, the planning board says they recognize the right of a developer to pursue an application, but that it is not harmonious with the surrounding residential neighborhoods, et cetera, et cetera. And Ms. Gold says she doesn't think it's a bad subdivision plan and say that just because it's unpopular with the residents doesn't make it bad. But really, all of the Conservation Advisory Council says does not comply with the side setback requirements, the R1 district, requires 67 variances, significant conflict with both the community character and the community plans. You know, this is data that comes to you from your own advisory committees, okay? If this is coming to you, are you obligated in any way to address those issues, to follow the advice that is given to you? Or are you free to say, well, it doesn't matter, you know? On line 272, Chairman Walsh says that there would be no development if you follow this line of reasoning, and he feels a traffic study will show there'll be very little impact. That is an opinion. That is not a fact. You know, that is not data that is coming to you. That is an opinion. Similarly, that whole idea of my neighbor having 3 backyards, okay? And there's the comment that you made, well, it's not an undue hardship. You know, that's not, where does that come from? That is an opinion, okay? There are no other houses in this development that have what I would call 3 backyards. Now, maybe by definition, it's 2, but every other house that has a road beyond its backyard, there is a full backyard and a house between it, not 35 feet of private space on a golf course with a net blocking golf balls. It's completely out of character with the rest of the neighborhood, okay? Completely, just by looking at it. So I guess my main point isn't to be angry with you for disagreeing with me. My point is, I think it's important that I would like to know, what are your obligations? Do you have legal obligations to make your decision based on data, based on advisory information? Or can you take all of that information and say, well, they may say this, but this is what I believe? Is it only, are you allowed to just simply have your own opinion regardless of the facts, regardless of the data provided to you? And what of the data from the privilege of the floor? Does that count? Every single meeting I get up here and I have a different point to make. Okay, does that count, or is that not considered part of the equation? What I would request of you is at the next meeting, when we have a full house, state what your obligations are, state what your responsibilities are. Are they legal? Are they ethical? Or are you allowed to use your own judgment regardless? Thank you.
Thank you. And just for information, we did table those minutes.
Sorry?
We did table those minutes. You walked in a couple minutes late, so
I'm sorry?
we tabled those minutes
Oh, okay.
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 because of some other comments, okay? Thank you. All right, privilege of the floor is still open. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters? Anybody online, Laura?
Miss Juliana, I turned myself off. Miss Juliana Postgood is online. I didn't know, Miss Postgood, if you wanted to speak.
Thank you for the opportunity. Since the Mohawk Golf Course, I want to say ADU, and I know that's inaccurate, proposal was voted down, I just wanted to see what they were going to come back with, because I suspect that they are still interested in developing that land.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I could say that it won't be coming back until it gets through the town board and the process, if it makes it back, right, Laura?
Right, so the town board actually did a positive seeker determination at the last town board meeting, which means that the project is now undergoing a very strict environmental review and will probably be within the Conservation Advisory Council and the town board for, the process is a long process. It's many months to do the full environmental analysis of the project.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Any letters, Laura, or communications?
No, I don't have any written communications.
Okay. All right. Hearing or seeing no one else, I'll close privilege of the floor. We have no unfinished business. We have a couple items under new business tonight. The first item being Resolution 2023-17, a resolution for site plan approval for a tenant change at a lot that is partially within the town of Colony and partially within the town of Niskayuna at 1222 Troy-Schenectady Road. And Mr. DiOrpino is recusing himself from this, and Mr. Drescher would be sitting in on this vote. And Mr. Khan's the project lead. I'll summarize the resolution, which is posted to the town website. Resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby approves the above referenced site plan with the following conditions. 1, prior to issuance of a building permit, due to the fact that 64% of the site area and 93% of the building area lies within the town of Colony, the Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission requires evidence of site plan approval from the town of Colony Planning Department for the proposed use and tenant change. 2, relocation of existing signage or the addition of new signage shall require site plan application, review, and approval of the Planning Board and Zoning Commission. The Planning Board requests no changing flashing LEDs be added to the monument sign. And 3, any further changes to the parking lot will require further site plan review. Further resolved, the Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby grants site plan approval to use the Niskayuna-related portion of the property shared between the town of Niskayuna and town of Colony at 1222 Troy-Schenectady Road for a community food pantry on the main level and for a children's before and after school program and or daycare in the lower level as depicted in the aforementioned site plan. Do I have a motion, Mr. Khan?
A motion to accept this resolution.
Motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
And second by Mr. Laflamme. Discussion? Everything you'd like to, any questions or anything? That's it?
Just briefly, and everything is perfect with the resolution. I did know, I drove the site a few times on the Niskayuna side. There's obviously no parking lot lights. And I think you did express both in writing and verbally the last time that there may be some later in the evening, especially in the winter time, when it's dark, activities at the church. So I think, and it goes under, I think, Resolution 3, right? If there's going to be some kind of a light modification, light plans, we'd like to take a look at that, as that primarily is on the Niskayuna side. And the other topic I'm just going to bring up is completely, it's mostly for the town of Colony and for the congregants. If folks are going to be tempted to travel along Vly Road from your existing location to the new location, it's about a 3 to 4 mile. Vly, especially as it's approaching the church, gets to be the new location. It's very windy, fairly rural, right? And so just some consideration either the town of Colony should take or you should take relative to if that becomes the primarily traveled way. I'm not saying anything about a formal traffic study or a traffic impact, but just to give it some consideration that, we're putting, if that's going to be a primary path to the new location from the old location, to give some consideration to the nature of those roads. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, point number 2, the second sentence says, planning board requests. I wonder if we could put that in the affirmative. Request is kind of passive.
Condition number 2.
Condition number
Yeah.
2. It says, so I'd like to add, if we could make a modification, that no changing flashing lights will be added to the monument sign.
So the planning board,
I'm
I'm
just
sorry.
going to ask Elena on that because the
It's-
monument sign is
it's in
actually in the town
Colony.
of Colony.
Well, then why would it come to us then in the previous sentence? If it's
Well,
relocated?
no. When we were reviewing it at the last meeting, Chairman Walsh mentioned that in Niskayuna, we don't allow the flashing signs, and the sign already has a time and temperature on it, and he wanted to make sure that they understood that there was no further creep of LED signage on that monument sign. And I do think we have some leverage because a portion of the property lands in the town of Niskayuna, but I would just defer to Elena to ask if we can change from request to, no changing flashing LEDs be added to the monument sign.
My understanding is exactly what Laura said, and that the prior conversation was essentially that we were okay with keeping it status quo, but anything beyond that, the board was not necessarily okay with. And I do agree with Laura that, I think that we can work with Colony to ensure that it doesn't encroach beyond that, but to make it a requirement, I don't know that we have the leverage. I should say members, but I don't believe you have the
Right.
standing in order to make a requirement since it is an account colony.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? No, I have none. Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Mr. Scributinus,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Ms. Strang,
Aye.
Mr. Drescher,
Aye.
Chairman Walsh.
Aye. Resolution's approved. Thank you, guys, and good luck with everything over there, okay? Okay, we have one other item on new business. That's a recommendation to ZBA regarding 2386 Algonquin Road and 2383 Troy Schenectady Road. And that's regarding an application for a lot line adjustment, which is going to require a rear yard setback area variance of 19.9 square feet at 2383 Troy Road. All right, so tonight we just have the recommendation, and obviously if the zoning board of appeals takes action, whatever they decide, if they allow it to go forward, then it would come back for us to complete the lot line adjustment. Mr. McPartland and I walked the property probably about a week ago with the applicant, Mr. Pfeiffer, and Mr. McPartland was a project lead, but he's, I believe, on vacation, so he asked me to cover for him tonight. So based on that, I will make the recommendations, or at least make a suggestion for the recommendations to the zoning board of appeals. The only question I have before we get started is that, or maybe it's a comment, is that if the zoning board of appeals were to grant the area variance and the new, there may be a potential new homeowner for the home on Troy Schenectady Road, which is 2383. So this shed isn't in the best of shape, so maybe a new homeowner may decide to change that shed. And if they were, my understanding is that they'd be able to replace it as long as it's no greater than the current size or location that it's at now without any variances.
It has to be in the exact same footprint. Yeah.
Yeah, or smaller without encroaching on the area variance. They made it smaller.
Possibly smaller.
Yeah, as long as they got to come in and get a building permit. So you would have the opportunity to review that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If for some reason that triggers an additional review, though, the zoning board is pretty sensitive to, the site conditions
Yeah.
and previous variances granted.
Yeah. The only reason I bring that up is because the condition of the shed isn't the best. So you can see in the pictures that were included in the packet. But it is what it is, and they'll have to deal with it. If they go less than 120 square feet, or 120 square feet or less, then it can be within 5 foot of the property line anyway. So, all right. So I'll make the recommendations. So effect on comprehensive plan. Again, this is a discussion with Mr. McPartland. We feel there's no effect on the comprehensive plan. Both, there's some talk in the comprehensive plan or in the zoning code about irregular shaped lots. These lots are pretty much already irregular shaped.
Yes.
It doesn't improve it, but I don't think it's a detriment. So my view is, and Mr. McPartland, is there's no effect on the comprehensive plan. So all those that agree, can agree or can comment on that. All those that agree that there's no effect on comprehensive plan, signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed to that comment? No? Okay. All right, suitability for use in the area proposed. So the recommendation is going to be that it is suitable. And the reasons we have are that, Algonquin's a dead-end street, first of all. It's a unique situation in that both neighbors are part of this decision. And the one neighbor on Troy Road basically is trying to help out Mr. Pfeiffer, the residents on Algonquin. It's a pretty dense buffer there between the two properties, but if you take a look at the map, you could see how close it is to the back of Mr. Pfeiffer's house. If he were to lose that buffer because a new homeowner took over, the existing homeowner likes it also, but a new homeowner could basically clear that out, and then Mr. Pfeiffer would lose privacy and actually the not only privacy but the natural state that is there now. So for those reasons, we felt that it's suitable and it doesn't hurt any other property owners and has no impact on anybody else. So for those reasons, I think it's suitable and recommend that it's suitable. So all those favor for suitability, that it is suitable, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you. Anybody opposed? Okay, no one's opposed. And the last thing is a recommendation. A recommendation is that the zoning board of appeals grant the area variance requested for the reasons that we've just discussed. All those that agree signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nope. Okay, again, unanimous. So we'll put that together and send it on to the zoning board. The meeting is July 19th. And if Mr. Pfeiffer and his neighbor get their area variances, then we'll see you back for the lot line adjustment. Okay? And that's really it on that. Any other comments or questions or concerns there? No? All right. All right, so that takes us right to discussion items. And I guess the discussion items, anybody, we don't have any unless there's anything specific. I just would go move on to reports and see if anybody has anything in the reports that you'd like to discuss, Laura or Clark.
I only noticed that at the last meeting, I believe it was the last meeting, we discussed a little bit of the Airbnb situation. I haven't dug up the old code yet, but I did speak with the lady who came under privilege of the floor again and did some research on Vrbo and Airbnb and changed settings, tried a bunch of different things. But I was really only able to show 3 rental homes in the entirety of the town of Niskayuna. The one of concern to this lady did show up, but I am unable to come up with a map that has any more than like 3 short-term rental properties in the town of Niskayuna. I'll still pull the code up. It's still something that we can look at one more time and look at with the comprehensive plan committee, but I wasn't able to see any drastic changes with what we had for rental homes versus when we looked at it before, which was 3 or 4 years ago.
And I noticed that Saratoga is now taking another look at this area as well in terms of perhaps adding.
Yeah,
To their
Saratoga Springs
ordinance.
is looking to start a registry of
Yeah,
short-term rental homes, just so they know where they are. So maybe we'll just have to keep an eye on that and see how that works out for them, see if we get any lessons learned from that.
and if a home is being rented out most of the time, it does impact the neighbors.
Okay. All right, under commission business, anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to discuss or for legal? Mr. Henry or Ms. Robertson? Anything at all? No?
I mean, I guess for the gentleman that came to privilege of the floor, it was good that Lauren Clark a few times gave a presentation on the ADD process. I'm a little reluctant because the planning board is well established in code and practice, and I think residents can do their independent research. But I at least just wanted to give it a moment of discussion if, folks feel that some clarification or presentation on the definition of this board needs to happen or not.
No.
I mean, like I said, I feel reluctant to do that because I think the information is out there and should be known.
Well, there is one point I want to clarify about what he was saying about what was stated in the minutes versus what sort of has to be in the minutes. So if it was stated at the meeting, like for instance, if Chairman Walsh said that he disagreed with the 3 front yards, then kind of regardless of the opinion of this board, or even if the Chairman Walsh changes his mind for the next meeting, or even if, it was misstated, if that's what was stated at the meeting, then that's what has to go in the minutes. So I just wanted to clarify that even if a person didn't necessarily like what was being stated, the minutes have to be reflective of what actually occurred,
No.
right? So that's just a point of fact. They may not have liked what was said if they weren't at the meeting. They may not, really understand what was said necessarily just from reading the minutes. We do our best, but they're not edited, or we try not to edit them, right? Like they need to be a reflection of what was actually said. So I just wanted to make that important clarification.
Yeah, and I don't mind saying, we all know that we have ethical responsibilities and we have legal responsibilities, and Ms. Finnan will keep us in line from a legal standpoint, along with the planning department. But we are entitled to opinions, and our opinions should be based on our years of experience and our experience with our training and just our experience being on the board. So every planning board member is entitled to their professional opinion also, in my view.
And the only other thing to note about those minutes, which may be confusing to people, Mr. Khan and Mr. DiArpino spent a long time creating the attachment to the resolution. And Mr. DiArpino actually read it into the record. And so when there wasn't disagreement with what was being read into the record, which was the recommendation that they had worked very hard on, then there wasn't discussion. The only time that there were points of discussion was when there was disagreement with what was being read. So if you go through those minutes, the points where you break out of what Mr. DiOpino was reading are points where there was disagreement. But that's actually how the meeting went. I mean, that's truly how it went. There didn't have to be that much discussion. I mean, and sometimes Jengus interjected and David DiOpino interjected a little bit more to flush out some of those things. But I think a lot of what was written in the resolution is what stood. So there wasn't as much discussion on why that was written because he was reading it out loud.
Yeah.
But it's hard to understand that again when you're reading in the minutes. When I was reading the minutes, like I double checked the video a couple times, not for the vote that we're redoing it on, but just for process. If you don't understand really what we're doing, I can understand how the minutes might seem different. But I mean, that's truly what was a reflection of what happened at the meeting, which they have to be.
Well, bottom line too is the, the YouTube video is there for everybody to see, so if you have a concern, it's there and go take a look at. In fact, and I don't think we do it in the minutes now. I guess we could always put the link to the specific video. I don't know if that's worth doing or not, so that anybody pulls up the minutes, they know where to go, to take a look, something to consider, because they're all available.
Right.
Yeah, although I will note that the more recent meetings are harder to find than they have been.
They are. I need to figure out how to say this somewhere or something. There's 2 tabs. If you upload the video, it's in the video tab. If it's live streamed, they're in the live tab.
Yeah, it shows past live stream events.
Yes.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
I do want to figure out a way that, I mean, I don't think I can reorganize the website. I have no control over YouTube, but like we could explain it to people better, sort of change the link that we have to the live stream.
but they used to both be available on the
I know.
same page.
They changed
And
it.
now they aren't.
Yeah, it's true.
And
YouTube changed it.
I had to really search to find it.
I
And
know.
I had a feeling it wasn't the town that made the change, and you're telling me I'm correct on that. But it's less helpful than it was.
I struggled to find the videos at the very beginning, and that's why I kind of understand where they are now.
But it used to just automatically be there.
Yeah, I know.
Now
They
it's
were-
not.
They were all put together in one place. I'll just show you guys. And I mean, if I can figure out a way to explain this to people better too. So it used to be that all the videos were kind of mishmashed here. But now, if you go to the videos tab, these are the ones that are uploaded. And then if you want to find the old plan, and you'll notice that there's no planning board because we always live stream the planning board. So if you're looking for planning board, it's not here. Is that you have to go to this live tab. Then you see all the ones that are live streamed through YouTube. So YouTube, like I don't know what you call it. They distinguish between
Yeah,
live
separate them,
streams and videos. Yeah, I have no control over that, but it is confusing.
So Laura, maybe this is something our IT person can look into it. Maybe off of the town homepage, we would just do a supplemental, direct a link to the live stream and or video in question.
Yeah, it's almost like it has to be a verbal explanation though, because every once in a while, like if the live stream doesn't work, it'll be an uploaded video.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
or
I
like we
mean,
change the way-
maybe in every time we have a meeting, whoever in IT,
Yeah,
just so that the town homepage or just a page off of the town page at least has all of the appropriate links so that it'll go either to a video or to a live stream.
yeah,
Just a suggestion. I figured there's got to be a way around that.
yeah, because I do think I agree with you, Leslie. That change happened a month or two ago, and it's not user friendly.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from under commission business? Anybody? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
No way.
Mr. Flau made a motion to adjourn and
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Khan. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. It was a quick night. Thank you, everybody.
Jeez, thanks. It's just,
We have to check. Field trip.
Looking at the YouTube, I think the hardest part actually also is like it's not chronological. So that's always been my problem is like searching through the.
I know. And then if somebody doesn't
Which one's
put like,
I think if you told me you were going to recommend approval, you probably said you didn't need to come.
And then if like somebody doesn't click it to be planning board, I don't know what you call that. Subset, then it won't show up in the.